Well, welcome to the Minnesota Fringe Festival 20th Anniversary Webcast interview series, and I am here with Bob McFadden, who is the first executive director and the founder of the Minnesota Fringe Festival. So this is very exciting, and you commented on it when you came in, but it's one of the first things I wanted to point out that we dug this up in our research. This is the very first Minnesota Fringe Festival banner, isn't it? That's it. That's great. So let's go ahead and start right at the beginning. So when you first started trying to make this thing happen, I mean, what was your role in the arts community? What was your...
Well, I graduated from BU with a master's in theater. I was in '74.
Yeah.
And then caught on at the Guthrie for 3 seasons as
Yeah.
a production assistant, and I got up to assistant director for a Christmas show.
Because it just seems like starting a fringe festival in a community that doesn't already have one, that's going to be jumping into the deep end.
Well, then I'd spent the previous 15 years just writing plays.
Yeah.
And I had about 7 or 8 of them ready, and then I went to the Playwrights Center.
Uh-huh.
I was a little old at that time for their interests, so I hung around for 4 years and didn't get much happening except going to the readings and offering criticism.
Yeah.
So when I went up to Winnipeg and saw the Fringe up there, I said, well, this is another avenue. This is another avenue not only for other people but for myself at this point. So that's how the idea came about.
Well, that segues right into my how this came about. It was the Winnipeg.
I was just visiting relatives,
Uh-huh.
and my aunt's next door neighbor was a volunteer. I said, well, you should come and see it. So I did, and got the executive producer up there, and saw some shows, and indicated that I'd be interested in trying it down here. He was very supportive.
Yeah.
So I came back, started talking to people, and then got a call from him saying I should come out to their Canadians and Seattle and Orlando had a conference in Victoria that fall, so that was '92.
Yeah.
So I went out and introduced myself, got the word started out there, and then came back, and '93 was pretty full-time at organizing all aspects of it.
Because that's one thing that struck me in my research. I was looking through old fringe programs, and for that first fringe, I was surprised by the number of out-of-town companies that were moving through. Did you really appeal to the fringe circuit?
I went back to Winnipeg '93, the summer of, and stayed up there for 2 weeks. So I was there from the setup through the welcoming of all the groups, and I met a lot of them. And most of the ones that came down were a result of my recruiting.
Yeah.
Thinking that it would probably be good for the audiences and performers here to get an idea of what exactly was going on up there. The best-selling show in '95 was from Toronto.
Yeah.
And the second best was from Great Britain.
Uh-huh.
Third best was a Russian.
Wow.
We've sort of lost that part of it as the years have gone along. But it had a nice international flavor. I don't see that anybody was picking locals over visitors or anything like that at that point.
It's definitely one of the most striking things for me looking at that early program is how international the festival was.
Well, I think that's the appeal to the critics as well, was that it was something different that they hadn't seen before.
How do you, I mean, how do you pitch what a fringe festival is to a community that has no conception of it?
Well, you have the material right in front of you.
I do. He brought this. This is fantastic.
The presentation book, which gives the history,
Uh-huh.
the mission statement, an example of the grid program, some assorted pictures of lines of people standing at venues, projected budget, and then it ends up with the 501c3 letter. So you just sort of put it on the package and you nail it out. to a lot of people.
Let's say first year you're negotiating venue contracts. You come to venue managers. You come to people who could donate money, and you hand them this, and they say, I have money and don't want to read this. Why should I care about what the Fringe Festival is? What's your response to that?
Well, it seems obvious to us now what the Fringe does. Number one, it builds community among the performers primarily.
Yeah.
It gives performers another avenue, a step on the ladder up the rung if they choose to pursue a theater for however long. There's that as well. It puts money immediately into the hands of performers so that they can either supplement their other income or make a go of it just doing that. So I think the positives are pretty clear.
Well, we're filming this in the Fringe offices right now, and half the walls over there are taken up with Fringe schedules of different venues and all the different shows. And one of the other great things that we took up was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the very first Fringe Festival schedule that...
Yes, I don't recognize it. But that's we had a board.
Yeah.
And we sold all the tickets. It must have been the Cedar Cultural Center.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, that was exciting to find.
So everybody would come to one locale to get their tickets, and then they could look not only at their program, which cost $2. We sold it for $2 the first one. It was quite an artful little design. But then they could just look at the board, see what was playing where, and head off to one of the... Actually, it was 5 working venues.
If I were to just walk off camera and step into a time machine and step out 20 years ago and walk into a Fringe venue, what's different? How does it look different than it does walking?
Well, there may be a fewer people in the audience. But other than that, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
The tickets may be a little less expensive.
Yeah.
I think $6 is where we started. It's $12.
Actually, that's one thing that struck me too, because I was looking over the early programs and I noticed that there were a lot of different shows that had different ticket prices too.
We have two-tiered application fee, so $125 or $250, and then you charge 3 or 6.
So the artists were able to determine that. Great, and there were different time limits too, because I was around when you had the choice between the 60 and 90 time limit shows, but I saw shows that listed themselves as 80 minutes or 40 minutes. Was that?
Well, we could put everything under an hour in the 60-minute venue, and anything up to 90 minutes in the 90-minute venue. Yeah. I haven't looked at the schedules to see if we combined the two. I doubt if we did. But, we gave people a lot of choices to how they wanted to market their show.
Well, that's great. I guess there's just one thing that I want to say to you while we're both here, which is that about 10 years ago, I was one of those writers who was really struggling. I was not in a good place, professionally or personally. And I was doing that thing where I was doing the bulk mail-outs to all of the different theaters and getting all the rejections, and it was. And I discovered the Fringe, and it truly did transform my life and my career. And I don't mean to harp on myself because
that's okay, but you had Leah at that point who put you online.
That's true.
That was probably an important
absolutely.
job for the Fringe as well as for a certain number of people, was the bloggers that she found and gave a venue for.
But it's really the very existence of Fringe, and I'm talking about myself here because I don't think my story is unusual. I think there's a lot of artists who have found themselves in that struggling position and who have who the Fringe has given them something that wouldn't exist otherwise. And I just want to express for myself and for the people like me that I truly appreciate the time and energy and vision that you extended at a time it could not have been easy to extend it to build this asylum for all us lunatics that I really wanted to.
That's probably the reason I did it.
it's worthwhile. I think it's worthwhile for all of us.
Well, that's good.
I want you to know that.
That makes my efforts worthwhile. Truly. Thanks.
All right, well, that's it for this webcast. Please stick around, and we've got some more webcasts coming up. I believe our next one will be talking to some of the actors who trod the boards during McFadden's tenure. So thank you very much.